Sometimes it's necessary to round decimals to a certain place. Rounding involves approximating, so it's not exactly the right number, but it's what we need to make it more useful to us, to fewer decimal places. So you figure out where we're rounding to, and then we cut the number after the required decimal place. Round to 2 decimal places. If we had a large number like we have here, we're going to cut the numbers after 2 decimal places, but we need to see if we need to round up. So to determine whether we need to round up or down, consider what we call the critical digit. That's the digit that you just lopped off right after the second decimal place. It's the one immediately to the right of the specified place. So that's called the critical digit. So with 15.63, we're rounding to 2 decimal places. These guys have been cut, but let's look at number 2. So number 2 is the critical digit. So the critical digit, if it's less than 5, not equal to, less than 5, you round down. That means to write the original number. You don't actually make that number go lower, but I would, in this case, keep the 3 where it is. So if the critical digit is 5 or more, so if this were 15.6357, I would actually round that number up because the critical digit is 5 or higher. You round up. That means the original number is increased by 1. And then we ditch the other digits. So let's have a go. So we want to round each of the following to 1 decimal place. So I'm going to have 23.1 number. But now, that's how far I stop. The rest of these guys, sorry, you lose out. But who's our critical digit? Our critical digit here is 3. And we know that 3 is less than 5. Therefore, I'm going to leave this digit that I've rounded to, I'm going to leave it just as it is. So if I'm rounding to 1 decimal place for B, 1.7, the critical digit is 5. I don't care about these guys. They're dead to me. But the critical digit is 5. And we know that if the critical digit is 5 or more, that's actually going to change this. So instead of writing 1.7, it's actually rounding up to 1.8 because the critical digit is 5 or higher. Round each of the following to the specified number. So I'm going to round this big number to 3 decimal places, which means I'm going to lop off this one. 18.34. Now I'm going to keep that 7, or am I going to make it 8? It's not going to go down to 6. It's going to stay there. Rounding it down, aha, the critical digit's only 2, so I'm going to keep it there. I've rounded it down, and I ditched the rest of those numbers. I've now rounded that to 3 decimal places. This number I'm going to round to 2 decimal places. So 0. Here's our first decimal place, and our second decimal place is 3. But look at the critical digit right after it. That's 9. And if that number, the critical digit after the rounding place, so this is in the 3rd decimal place, which I'm going to chop off, that's actually 5 or higher. That's going to make that 3 round up to a 4. Last one here, we are rounding to 3 decimal places, and we'll put 7.599, but wait a second, our critical digit is 6. And that's actually going to make rounding up not only the 9, that's going to affect the other 9, which is then going to affect that. So I can't really round up 9 without rounding up the things that are next to it. So the real answer is going to be 7.6. But remember, we're rounding to 3 decimal places, so we want to stick those 2 more decimal places in there to show that we understand and answer the right question. And now here's some exercises.